I'm Eduarda, and in this video series, I'm going to share with you my experience of healing with the help of Love Addicts, which is an online therapeutical program specifically designed for people living with anxious, insecure attachment. A little disclaimer before I begin: Love Addicts isn't sponsoring these videos, and I won't be sharing the contents of the program here. The only purpose of this video series is to share my experience and connect with other people that are also on a healing journey. If you struggle with anxious, insecure attachment, you are not alone. And I hope that my experience can be of some use to you. Okay, let's go. Okay, so week 5, I the first thing that I did was I stopped taking obsessive notes. I stopped creating cheat sheets, but I still, as I was going through the courses, I still felt like I needed to record this somehow, and I needed to make this very easy to reference. So what I created instead, and again, I love using Notion, which I'm not promoting. It's just an app that I really like, and I just like the way that I can organize things in Notion. So let me show you what I actually did in the end and how I am taking notes for this program. And it's been a lot easier. It's a faster way to take notes. It's easy to refer back to it, at least for me. So I'm just going to show you what my process was like and what my notes look like now. Okay, so this is my Notion as it is right now. You can see here I have like a lot of other things that I'm taking notes on, but this is where I take all my notes um, from Love Addicts and also from therapy or any other thing that like gives me an insight in how I can care better for myself. And that is why like I also call it self-care. And then you can see like uh, there's a drop down menu where I have a lot going on, but you can also see the same things going on here. And essentially, there's like also a big part of Love Addicts where they're like asking you like, what does self-care mean to you? Like, remember, they always like, they do give you a lot of tools, they give you a lot of examples, they give you a lot of information, but they don't um they don't tell you anything that is like in a box. It's always like, okay, here's a lot for you to think about. Now, how does this show up for you and what does this mean to you? And eventually, I had a realization that all of these things, like from my being very clear about my priorities and routine, taking care of my sleep, um, and having a routine that serves me, like all of those things are self-care because um it's I never realized how essential these things are, because obviously like we all get some sleep at some point, we all have some sort of a routine, we all get through life somehow, but having like a section of my like notes where I'm like, okay, like routine is important to me. So, what is my routine? Am I able to keep it? What are the boundaries I need to set around it? Like, I've always had a hard time sleeping. So, what are the tools that I can use to sleep better? So, then in here, I have like all of the things that I am trying. And then I might have like you toggle down on some of this. And oh, actually, I haven't put anything in this one, but I did have, I think this is like my sleep diary of like when I tried taking sleeping pills, I was keeping a diary because I didn't know how I was going to feel on it. So it's kind of all goes in here. All my plans for this channel are also here. So like all of my notes, how I felt like week from week. Um, like a bit of a journal of my meditation practice. I was talking about shadow work. So here I take notes on shadow works. Um, I have little things like a bucket list, so like things that I want to do in life. I have a whole section just for identity. Some of my notes are in Portuguese because that's my native language. But um, so it's a mix of Portuguese and English in here. But it's like, okay, so who am I? Like what are the things that I identify myself with? This is also like a big part of Love Addicts, like building your identity consciously. We all have an identity, but like, are you conscious of what your identity is? And are you giving time to those parts of our and are you giving time to those parts of your identity that make you feel good, like maybe gym, and maybe going to the gym, maybe doing a specific sport. In my case, like I love to dance and I love um like animals in general. So like, are you actually doing things in those realms that bring you joy, or are you ignoring them? And often we do ignore the things that are good for us, that we like to do when we are insecure and anxious, because we think that we don't have time. Like, I don't have time to play the guitar, I don't have time to draw a flower, I don't have time to like hit the gym every day. Like, I just, like, I don't have the time to do those things, because if you're so preoccupied with everything and always watching out and always measuring your steps and always anticipating what other people might do, you don't have time. You just won't have time to do the things that you actually like doing and that bring you joy. um, so then there are things that you learn inside the program. So you learn about core values, you learn about self-love, you do learn other aspects of self-care. So I actually have like a self-care tab inside of self-care, because um, these are like more specifically like self-care attitudes, but to me, like, all of this is um, they have somewhere here, I did something that was like right out of Love Addicts. Oh, they at some point, like, they encourage you to like join clubs and communities, because obviously, like, we know, like, scientifically, like, being part of community is something that keeps us really healthy these days. um I also have at somewhere in here, I have core values. I don't know where I put my core values anymore. No, not core values. Oh yeah, it's in here inside my values, qualities, and beliefs. And then inside beliefs, I have my core beliefs. And this is something that they talk a lot about inside Love Addicts, which is those things that you just believe to be absolutely true. And obviously, some of those are going to be great. Like, you can have core beliefs that are like, nothing is impossible, which means that you always dare to try the things that you want to accomplish. Or you might have a core belief that is, like, help will always come to me when I need it. So those are great. Like, it's great to realize the positive core beliefs that you have, so you can reinforce them. But then there are so many negative core beliefs that we carry, which I had never realized my own. Like, I had core beliefs that were like, nobody can be trusted. Everyone will betray you at some point. Money always runs out. Um, Whenever I have something really good, it will be taken away from me. Those are like core beliefs, like deeply installed in my mind, that I did not realize I had. So, this is how I take notes now. And you can see, like, most of it are like to do lists, or um, like here, where I have like this points, but then I have a table with a diary. Um, like priorities and routine, and like these are things that I'm always changing. For example, here, I actually picked up a video from YouTube, because in Love Addicts we talk a lot about like boundaries, but also asking for your needs and wants. And at one point, I just wanted to find like more information about it and kind of put it here. But I also have like how to ask for my needs and wants. I have notes like from Love Addicts on this as well. um, I might have bullet points. So it's still a lot, but it's a lot more simple than I was doing before. And I have this, which I love, which is like my toolbox. So whenever I like come across something in Love Addicts or even somewhere else, but especially in Love Addicts because it's where I'm getting most of this from, that I'm like I'm like, oh, that's a really good technique. For example, like the first one I have here, like hand on heart, it's like put your hand in your heart and just feel comforted. Like it's incredible, like at least for me, like how good this feels. Like just putting my hand on my chest already feels amazing. If I'm really triggered, I can close my eyes. I can breathe. And sometimes I might be in public. So I might be like in a train or like in a situation that I'm just uncomfortable. Like it could be like at work with friends. And I'm just like, for you to like be very subtle and just kind of like go like this, like nobody will really notice that you like putting your hand to your chest or that you're like giving yourself a bit of a cuddle. So like this for me is a tool now and it grounds me. It brings me back and I'm like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. This feels very triggering, but I'm going to get through it and then I can get myself out of the trigger and then like go through other tools, like I might be taking healing breaths or if I can, I might give myself a self hug. Checking in with your body is something that is talked about a lot, and there are a lot of exercises for this where you're like, okay, where is it hurting? They do go very deeply into this. Reframing is like a big one where you're like realizing that your perception isn't the only one. So it's what I've talked about in other videos by now, where you're separating your stories, the stories you're building in your head about someone or a situation, from the facts. And that is completely magical. I think I even have this again here because here in reframing, I have like not everyone thinks in the same way. Like that's a good reminder. Like just because I think that someone did something because they obviously, like don't care, I can go like, no, they did what they did. That is the fact. Like let's say someone didn't call, and I can go, they didn't call because they don't care. They don't care is a story. So I can go, what's the fact? The fact is that they didn't call, period. Why they didn't call, how much they care or not, and what is going on in that other person's life, no idea unless I ask them and talk to them, right? Not everything is a personal attack, so if um, someone, I don't know, like leaves their shoes in the hallway and it's a mess, and you're like, this person um, has no consideration for me, or they would clean up their space. Like, no, they don't clean up their space for their reasons. Like, the fact is, they left their shoes thrown in the hallway. Why they did that, unless you talk to them, you won't know. It's not a personal attack. So, like, reframing really helps. And where is my fact and story? There's at some point here I have uh oh, I love this. This is one of my tools, like go to bed early. Like if you're that triggered, if you're like super sad that you can't like focus on anything else, just like start arranging the rest of your day in a way that you can like get yourself to bed early. And this doesn't mean sleeping. It could be like go to bed early and read a book, or like go to your room and do some yoga, but it's just like end the day sooner. Some days we just need to end them faster than other days. Pause, ground, take space. These are actually like exercises that we get to do inside the program, and then they explain it to you better in there. Are you sticking to your routine? So, like, some of my tools in my toolbox are questions like reminding myself to ask myself, like, am I sticking to my routine? And then I'm like, ooh, like I've actually fallen out of my routine a lot this week. I haven't exercised as much. I haven't meditated. And then, like, oh, okay, this is affecting me. So I can then go back to these things. At some point in here, I had, uh, oh, here, separate facts from story. This is like the tools that I try to use this is the tool I try to use the most, which was the example I was talking about. Again, I have some Portuguese here, but for example, Socratic questioning is something that I learned outside of Love Addicts, but it's like something, it's basically like a series of questions that you ask yourself to challenge a thought that you're having. And this is when you're like so caught up in your stories that it's like making you ruminate, and then you go like, okay, what is the thought that I want to challenge? And then there's a series of questions that you ask yourself to find evidence to whether that thought is true or not, and it's usually not. And even when there is some truth to it, you can like reframe that truth, which then makes you like feel a lot calmer and be a lot more reasonable, in the sense of then having better responses. Again, this is all in Portuguese here, but it's called Socratic questioning. If anyone wants to look it up. Oh, here I have my core beliefs. Like you see, like I'm unlovable. Everything is personal. There's something wrong with me. My opinions don't matter. Like all of these things can be like negative core beliefs. So when I got to that module in Love Addicts where we talk about core beliefs, I just like came here and I wrote like every negative core belief. And then I started with positive, intermediate, cognitive distortions, automatic thoughts. And it was just like, like it's kind of, it's still a mind dump. It's still a lot, but at least it's in bullet points. And I did this like fast. And they're like just this more concise, to the point version of my obsessive notes and cheat sheets that I had before. And I'm very careful these days not to like spend too much time on it. So I might, for example, be going through one of the Love Addicts courses, and I'm like, oh, okay, I really want to write this down. And then if I spend like 15 minutes taking notes and writing something down and like kind of seeing how it feels for me, then I might like not go back to the course. So a lot of times I start watching a video inside Love Addicts and I watch like 5 minutes of it. And then I have like this big insights and I want to write things down. And then I'm like, well, like I've already watched 5 minutes of this. I already like taken like 15-20 minutes to think about this. Like that's kind of it for my day. Like I have been very watchful to make sure that I don't do things obsessively or that I don't push myself too hard. Like there's no problem if you start a video and you don't end it. You can just continue the next day, or you can continue like, because now I take breaks, so I'll watch the video courses on a day, and then I'll take a break the next day where I'll do something else in the community. So the next day I might just go in there and do like a quick post or watch daily bites really quickly, and then I'll do the courses again. And then the next day I might do a daily session, and especially when I do the daily sessions, because they last an hour and you get a lot of information because it's a live session and in groups, so you're also like interacting with other people, you're hearing about other people's experiences. Sometimes I will take like 2 days um, after the daily session before I go back into the courses, but I'll still always check in. I'll still always go into the platform once a day and do something in there, even if it's like something really quick. And yeah, so that was week 5 now. I finally had a system to take notes. And I can say that I was like progressively feeling better. Like since I started this course, I have always felt better than I did before. Like the more I move on in the courses, the more I move on in this program, the better I feel. Which doesn't mean that I don't have ups and downs. Like I do still have days, and at that point in week 5, I still had days when I felt very sad, or when I questioned myself, when I still felt confused, where I was still grieving the relationship that I had lost. But it's like, it's almost like the pain is there, but the suffering, like part of the suffering is gone, because so much of the suffering was the anxious attachment and not the situations themselves. And going into the program and going through the motions of this program, and like by this time point is like week 5, so I know I still have like a lot to look forward to in the program. And I'm like, well, if I understand things this much better by week 5, then um how much better will I understand things, and how much better will I feel by the end of 3 months, right? So like you really start looking forward to like living a life that is a lot less full of anxiety and insecurity. Like, kind of like, that's the only way to put it. It's like you can see, like, for me, my insecurity and my anxiety have like diminished a little bit every week, and that little bit makes such a big difference. And then like having access to like new tools, knowing myself better, loving myself more, it's just like, wow, if this can be accomplished in 5 weeks, how much more will I accomplish in 3 months? We will see. See you in the next video for week 6.